armed men crashed her wedding, until the helpless bride went full special forces mode. Her dream wedding shattered when 15 heavily armed men stormed the chapel. They came for jewels and cash, believing she was a helpless bride. They were about to discover she was the most dangerous person in the room. The Serenity Chapel at Crestwood Gardens wasn't just a building, it was a promise made of glass and light. Sunlight, thick and golden, poured through immense panes of crystal, illuminating the dust motes dancing like tiny fairies in the air. Towering redwood beams, polished to a deep, rich luster, soared towards the vaulted ceiling, creating a space that felt both grand and intimately connected to the ancient forest pressing in on all sides. The scent of pine needles and damp earth mingled with the delicate fragrance of 1,000 white orchids that seemed to float in suspended arrangements. This was the world Dr. Anya Sharma, 30 years old and a top-tier trauma surgeon, had chosen for the first day of her forever. Today, she was not Dr. Sharma, the woman who could restart a heart with her bare hands. She was simply Anya, a bride. Her gown, a masterpiece of ivory silk, flowed around her, its clean, modern lines a perfect counterpoint to the wild nature outside. Her dark hair was swept up in an elegant chignon, revealing the nape of her neck and a pair of simple diamond earrings that caught the light with every turn of her head. Her eyes, the color of warm amber, held a depth that few had ever truly plumbed. At the altar stood Liam Carter, an architect whose soul was as kind as his designs were brilliant. He had designed this very chapel, a gift to the community and now, a gift to her. His tuxedo was sharp, his smile nervous but utterly radiant. In his eyes, Anya saw her future, a life of shared dreams, quiet Sunday mornings, and the beautiful, ordinary magic of a love built on trust. Around them, 200 guests, friends, family, colleagues, were a sea of joyful faces, their collective happiness a palpable force in the room. Anya's father, a retired fire captain with a chest full of medals and a heart full of pride, beamed from the front row. Everything was perfect. The string quartet began a hauntingly beautiful melody as Anya started her walk down the aisle. Each step on the cool marble floor brought her closer to Liam, closer to peace. The officiant had just begun. We are gathered here today, in this sanctuary of light and life, to celebrate the union of Anya Sharma and Liam Carter. That was when the promise shattered. The main glass doors at the back of the chapel didn't just open, they exploded inward, a deafening implosion that sent a shockwave of sound and a spray of tempered glass shards across the pristine floor. 15 men poured through the breach. They moved with a chilling, disciplined efficiency, clad in black tactical gear, their faces obscured by custom-made ballistic masks painted with grinning skulls. They carried advanced weaponry, honey badger PDWs, FN scars, and sidearms holstered on their thighs. The leader, a mountain of a man whose mask bore a single, stylized Titan's helmet, raised his rifle. A distorted, electronic voice boomed from a modulator on his chest. Nobody moves. This is a robbery. Phones, wallets, and jewelry in the aisles. Now. Panic erupted. A symphony of screams replaced the string quartet. Guests scrambled, diving behind polished wooden pews. Liam instinctively pulled Anya behind him, his body a shield. Anya, stay down. Don't move, he whispered, his voice tight with fear. But Anya wasn't looking at Liam. Her gaze was fixed on the chaos, and in the depths of her amber eyes, the soft, loving light of a bride had been extinguished. In its place, a cold, analytical fire began to burn. Her posture shifted, an almost imperceptible change, from the soft curve of a bride to the rigid, coiled stillness of a predator. The idyll was over. While 200 people descended into terror, Anya's mind became an oasis of absolute calm. The screams, the shattering glass, the barked orders, it all faded into a distant hum. Her world compressed into data points and tactical variables. The years she had spent hiding a part of herself, the part forged in the crucible of clandestine warfare, fell away like a discarded cloak. 15 hostiles, her mind catalogued, the assessment running faster than any supercomputer. Superior hardware. Coordinated entry. Not common thugs. Ex-military or high-level mercenaries. Her eyes, missing nothing, scanned the chapel. Leader, Titan, position center. Primary threat. 2 riflemen flanking the entrance, creating a fatal funnel. For moving down the left aisle, for down the right, maintaining overlapping fields of fire. 3 more securing the rear exits. A classic pincer movement. Professional. Liam's hand tightened on her arm. Anya, just do what they say. Please. Your ring. She gave his hand a gentle squeeze, a signal he misinterpreted as fear. It was reassurance. He doesn't know, she thought, a pang of regret cutting through the cold logic. He can't. To him, she was a healer, a lifesaver. He had no concept of the life-taker she had been trained to be. This was not a failure of trust, but an act of protection. A protection that had just expired. Empty your pockets, you worthless scum, one of the men shouted, shoving a guest who was moving too slowly. Titan began to stride down the aisle, his weapon held casually, a gesture of supreme arrogance. He stopped near the front row, where a grandmother was trying to shield her crying granddaughter. The little girl, no older than 6, was frozen in fear. Titan chuckled, a grating electronic sound. He raised his rifle, and a single, sharp red dot from his laser sight danced on the old woman's chest. Let's speed this up, Titan's voice modulator crackled. Or maybe the little lady's diamond earrings need to be surgically removed. That was the trigger. The final piece of data that completed the equation. Threat to non-combatant. Imminent danger. Protocol activated. Anya's training didn't ask for permission, it took command. The part of her that was a surgeon, the part that valued the sanctity of life above all else, aligned perfectly with the part that was a warrior. To save lives now, she had to become death. Please, Anya called out, her voice steady and clear, cutting through the noise. Leave them alone. They're terrified. Titan's masked head swiveled towards her. The red laser dot left the grandmother and landed squarely on Anya's chest. Well, well. The blushing bride has a voice. A brave one, too. He took a few steps closer, his boots crunching on the broken glass. That's a beautiful dress, princess. And that diamond on your finger. I'll be taking that first. He was 12 feet away. His finger was resting alongside the trigger guard, not on the trigger itself. A small detail. A fatal mistake. He saw a helpless woman in a white dress. He had no idea he was looking at Nyx. Liam, Anya whispered, her voice a low, urgent command. When I move, get down and don't get up. Before he could process her words, she was in motion. It wasn't a panicked rush, but a fluid, explosive sequence of biomechanics. One moment she was a bride at the altar, the next, she was a blur of ivory silk. She didn't reach for her ring. Her hand shot out and gripped the heavy, solid steel abstract sculpture on the altar, a piece Liam had lovingly called Ascension. With a surge of power that seemed impossible for her frame, she swung the 40-pound sculpture in a tight, brutal arc. Titan saw the movement too late. The steel slammed into the side of his honey badger rifle, shattering his grip and sending the weapon flying. The follow-through of her swing was seamless. The edge of the sculpture connected with the side of his helmeted head with a sickening crack of carbon fiber and bone. He crumpled to the marble floor without a sound, a fallen giant. What the? A mercenary near the front row started to yell, raising his rifle. But Anya was already there. She had caught Titan's rifle in midair, her fingers instinctively finding the safety, flicking it off, and chambering around in a single, practiced motion. The rifle came up to her shoulder as if it were an extension of her own body. Pop pop. 2 precise, controlled shots. The mercenary was thrown backward, a neat pair of holes in his center mass. Chaos erupted, but this time it was a chaos of Anya's making. She vaulted over the altar, her wedding dress billowing around her like the wings of an avenging angel. Bullets tore through the air, splintering the redwood pews and chipping away at the marble, but she was already gone, a ghost in white. She used the chapel's architecture, Liam's architecture, with lethal intimacy. The massive support beams became her cover. The shimmering glass walls, once symbols of openness, became tactical mirrors, allowing her to track enemy movements without exposing herself. "She's behind the pillar," one of them screamed. Anya was already moving. She slid across the floor, her silk dress surprisingly effective at reducing friction, and emerged on the other side of the nave. Pop pop pop. 3 more hostiles down, each neutralized before they could pinpoint her new position. Her shots were economical, brutally efficient. No wasted motion, no collateral damage. This was surgery with a rifle. The mercenaries' professional coordination dissolved into panicked shouting. They were hunting a phantom. They sprayed bullets wildly, their discipline shattered by the sheer impossibility of what was happening. A bride, armed and moving with the kind of skill they had only seen in elite training simulations, was dismantling them. One of the men on the right flank made a fatal error. He saw a flash of white and charged forward, thinking he could overwhelm her with brute force. Anya, anticipating his move, had already positioned herself behind a large planter. As he rushed past, she dropped low, spun, and fired a single shot into the back of his exposed knee, severing his femoral artery. He went down screaming. "Where is she?" "She's everywhere." Anya's voice, no longer gentle, echoed through the chapel, cold and authoritative. "Drop your weapons. Now." It wasn't a plea. It was a final warning. She used the chapel's acoustics, throwing her voice in one direction while flanking them from another. The remaining mercenaries, now down to a handful, found themselves trapped. Their advanced gear and numbers meant nothing. They were being hunted by something they couldn't comprehend. The final 3, clustered near the shattered entrance, saw her rise from behind the last pew. Her dress was smudged with dust and grime, but her eyes were blazing. She held the rifle with unwavering stillness. The fight was over. They knew it. Slowly, in unison, they dropped their weapons and raised their hands high in the air. "We surrender," one of them stammered, his voice trembling. "Don't shoot." Total time elapsed, 3 minutes, 47 seconds. 15 armed men neutralized. 200 civilians safe. The chapel fell into a profound, echoing silence, broken only by the whimpers of the terrified guests. Anya stood in the center of the aisle, the rifle held in a low-ready position, her gaze sweeping the room one last time to ensure all threats were neutralized. The silence was absolute, a vacuum where chaos had just been. Then, a single, collective gasp seemed to pass through the congregation as 200 pairs of eyes focused on her. They weren't just looking at a bride anymore. They were looking at a warrior. She engaged the weapon's safety, ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber, and placed the rifle gently on the floor. She took a deep, steadying breath, the adrenaline beginning to recede, leaving a profound weariness in its wake. "Is everyone okay?" she asked, her voice soft again, the surgeon returning. Liam was still on the floor behind the altar, staring at her with wide, uncomprehending eyes. "Anya, what, who?" Before she could answer, the distant wail of sirens grew into a roar. The county sheriff's tactical unit, expecting a bloodbath, stormed the chapel. They found a surreal tableau: terrified guests, neutralized hostiles, and a bride in a silk gown standing calmly amidst the wreckage. Captain Eva Rostova, a veteran officer with sharp, intelligent eyes, led the entry team. She surveyed the scene with professional disbelief. "Secure the hostiles," she commanded, her voice cutting through the daze. "Medics for the wounded. Someone tell me what the hell happened here." Anya's father, the retired fire captain, walked forward, his face a mask of shock and dawning pride. "That would be my daughter," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "The bride." Rostova's gaze snapped to Anya. She took in the dress, the calm demeanor, the impossibly clean outcome. "Ma'am, I need you to explain this. All of it." "It's a long story, Captain," Anya said quietly. Rostova walked closer, her eyes scanning Anya's posture, the way she stood, the way she had laid the weapon down, all professional tells. "I've seen scenes like this cleared by a full 10-man SEAL team, and it was never this clean." "Who are you?" Anya hesitated, looking at Liam, whose world had just been turned inside out. This was the moment of truth, the one she had dreaded for years. "I was a medic," she said. Rostova shook her head. "Medics don't move like that. Medics don't shoot like that. I'll ask you again. Who are you?" She lowered her voice so only Anya could hear. "I need to know for my report. What was your call sign?" Anya closed her eyes for a brief second. The secret she had guarded for so long was finally coming into the light. "Nix," she said, the name feeling foreign on her tongue after so long. Captain Rostova's professional demeanor cracked. Her eyes widened, and a flicker of awe, of genuine reverence, crossed her face. "Nix? The Nix? From Operation Crimson Sand?" Anya gave a reluctant nod. "Holy Mother!" Rostova caught herself. "Ma'am. You're a ghost. A legend. We study your tactics at the academy. They said you vanished." "I retired," Anya said softly. "I'm a surgeon now." "Well, Doctor," Rostova said, her voice filled with a new, profound respect. "Welcome back." The wedding reception took place that evening in a private ballroom at a nearby resort, under the surreal haze of the day's events. News vans were parked outside like vultures, their satellite dishes pointed at the hotel, broadcasting the wedding day siege to the world. But inside, the atmosphere was one of quiet, stunned celebration. The fear had subsided, replaced by a profound sense of gratitude and awe. Anya had changed out of her battle-worn dress and into a simple evening gown. She felt exposed, stripped of the anonymity she had cherished for 6 years. Every guest who approached her looked at her differently now, with a mixture of fear and reverence. But the only gaze that mattered was Liam's. He had been quiet for hours, processing the impossible. Finally, as the band played a soft melody, he led her to the dance floor. "You should have told me," he said, his voice not angry, but filled with a deep, searching sorrow. "I wanted to," Anya whispered, her heart aching. "So many times. But Liam, my past, it comes with enemies. With danger. I couldn't put that on you. I wanted to give you a normal life." "Anya," he said, stopping in the middle of the floor and taking both her hands. He looked around the room, at the faces of their friends and family, all safe. "Look at them. You saved them. You saved me. There is nothing normal about that. It's extraordinary." Tears welled in Anya's eyes. "I was afraid you would look at me and see a monster." Liam reached up and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. "I fell in love with a woman who dedicates her life to saving people on an operating table. Today, I learned she can do it with a rifle, too. I don't see a monster, Anya. I see a protector. I see all of you, for the first time. And I've never loved you more." He pulled her close, and in his embrace, Anya felt the last of her carefully constructed walls crumble. He wasn't just accepting her past, he was embracing it as part of the woman he loved. The secret that she thought would tear them apart had, against all odds, forged a bond that was stronger and more profound than she could have ever imagined. She wasn't just his wife, she was his guardian, and he, in his unwavering acceptance, was hers. The next morning, as they were packing for a rescheduled honeymoon in Bali, an unexpected visitor arrived. A man in a crisp army dress uniform stood at their door. It was General Wallace, her former commanding officer, a man whose face was etched with the hard lines of a lifetime at war. "Anya," he said, foregoing her rank. "Or is it Mrs. Carter now?" "General," she replied, her posture instinctively straightening. "I'm not here to draft you back in," he said with a rare, small smile. "I came to apologize. That incident, with the journalist you saved against direct orders. I was wrong. Command was wrong. You made the right call. It took us 6 years to officially admit it." A weight Anya hadn't even realized she was still carrying lifted from her shoulders. "Thank you, sir. That means more than you know. There's more," he continued. "The Joint Special Operations Command would like to offer you a position. A civilian consultant. Part-time. Your own terms. We need someone to teach the new generation of operators how to think like you. How to be Nicks. Without losing their humanity." Anya looked at Liam, who stood beside her, his hand resting supportively on her back. He nodded, his eyes telling her the choice was hers alone. "I'll consider it, General," she said. As their plane climbed into the sky, leaving California behind, Anya looked down at the world below. She was no longer hiding. She was Dr. Anya Sharma, surgeon. She was Anya Carter, wife. And she was Nicks, warrior. She didn't have to choose anymore. "What are you thinking about?" Liam asked, taking her hand. "I was just thinking that strength and love aren't opposites," she said, a genuine smile spreading across her face. "They're the same courage, just spoken in different languages." Anya's story teaches us that true strength isn't about hiding the parts of ourselves we think others won't understand, it's about having the courage to embrace all that we are. Do you think Liam's reaction at the wedding was realistic? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please, always comment with respect. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more incredible true stories. We'll see you in the next one.